background, Trade and Industry Minister Rob Davies has come to the rescue of South Africa's poultry industry by significantly increasing import tariffs on some of the categories of imported chickens. Peter Draper is senior researcher at SAIIA. Peter, from your perspective, was it what you anticipated?
Yeah, pretty much. I think the Minister has walked quite a fine line between balancing the consumer interest, and particularly the interest of poor consumers, with a relatively small group but a powerful group of companies domestically that have been suffering under very competitive conditions in terms of imports.
Listening to your sparring partner Kevin on Open Exchange this morning, he said it's only the first step though in the whole process.
Well, I think the target now, I mean, he'll be better placed to say, is the European producers who account for most of the imports by looks of things. So that's more challenging, I guess, because we have a free trade agreement with Europe in terms of which chickens or various chicken parts enter South Africa duty-free. So I'm not quite sure how they plan to address that, but it'll be a different kind of case, I guess, to the one we've just seen, which is a more general tariff increase which applies across the board.
And that is interesting because we do know in Europe there are massive agricultural subsidies which somehow have managed to escape the net of the World Trade Organization. Do you think this is going to bring them into focus?
Well, I think it already has. I mean, it's not just the Europeans that subsidize their import costs particularly, it's also the Brazilians and the Argentinians. And that, I think, has been a legitimate complaint on the part of the industry domestically. There are other industries that the industry domestically has to answer to as well, such as, for instance, allegations of unfair competition practices in the domestic market. And then there's, of course, the consumer interest, which the media has been quite focused on. So it's a complex case. I don't think there are any easy answers in all of this.
Two final questions. What's it going to do to the price of my Nando's?
Well, if you buy a whole bird, it's probably going to double the price. In fact, possibly even more, because Nando's is going to exact a markup on that. But then, of course, not all whole birds are produced, or rather are imported. So I'm not entirely familiar with the figures on that. I'm sure the association will be able to give that to you. But it will have some pricing effects for sure, and those are targeted primarily at the richer consumer, as the Minister said.
You've got a question?
Yeah, I wanted to make a comment rather.
No, we're going to get, sorry, I thought you had a question for Peter. Peter, the second question was, how does it impact companies? How will it, that's what we, as potential investors in poultry businesses on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, how would they be impacted?
Well, if you're talking about the domestic companies, I guess this is, well, if one takes the broader view that this is the first step in a broader initiative, then it's good news. And some of the share prices did rise. I picked that up in the papers this morning. So basically it means a little bit more protection. I don't think it's a lot more protection at this stage anyway. And that means shoring up the domestic market to some extent for them. So that means better profitability. Therefore, I guess it's good for the companies.